Hey everybody, I'm John Granato, and that's Lance Zierlein. You can hear us mornings on the bench, ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Lance is hitting subscribe right now, so he's getting all of our content here at SportsMap HOU. This week, Bob Nightingale confirmed my report on October 7th, in which I said that the Astros vetoed Justin Verlander from throwing out the first pitch. They went to Jim Crane and said, we don't want him throwing out the first pitch, and he didn't. Mattress Mac did it by himself that night. If Carlos Correa, as a team leader, was behind the player revolt over Verlander's first pitch, could Verlander be waiting on Carlos Correa to make a decision about staying here in Houston?
It's possible. I don't think it's likely, but I think it's possible. Listen, if it was a quote-unquote players revolt, I don't think just Carlos makes that decision. I think Carlos and others on the team make that decision. I think Justin Verlander knows that as well. So even if he thinks Carlos Correa was behind it, there were other Astros that had to have. Carlos is not a guy who would act independently like that. He's a team guy, and I think he probably felt that was team sentiment, or at least enough of the team to go to the owner. So if that's the case, I think Justin Verlander knows that too. I think what's done is done. There may be some hard feelings, and let's face it, if it were just the Astros in play, I think he'd go back to the Astros. He clearly still wants to pitch. He didn't feel like a guy who went out of his way to be part of the team this year. He didn't feel like a guy who went out of his way to find a way to get back on the field this year. All of a sudden, after the year's over, he's throwing 96 and 97 in bullpen sessions. So I thought that was a little interesting. I just think there are too many big-name teams with money like the Dodgers and the Yankees who also have a need for pitching. So I think when you add all of it together, John, Verlander's pitched his last pitch for the Astros.
Yeah, I do. I think so too. And who knows who behind it? I think you're right. Players all are like, "Hey, where's Justin been?" And now all of a sudden he's going to be our hero throwing out the first pitch. I think that was probably a team thing and not just Carlos Correa. But I think that they would welcome him back. I think that, you forget. Hey, he got a $66 million. He wasn't around. He's going to be around now. We got Justin Verlander on the mound for game one. Everybody's going to, you forget. And that would be fine. Whether or not Justin forgives and forgets, we're assuming that Justin Verlander is going to get a big contract from somebody. 18.4 for a guy who hasn't pitched the last 2 years and is 37 years old. That qualifying offer, it's not off the table that it's going to be his biggest deal. It's unlikely. Somebody, like you said, the Dodgers, the Yankees, they got so much money that they'll probably exceed that, and Justin Verlander's name will exceed that. But we're not sure. And maybe, Justin Verlander's probably playing this pretty well, keeping the door open. He hasn't said anything negative about the Houston Astros yet. When he leaves, he probably will.
What's he going to say? They won a lot and they paid him a lot of money?
Yeah.
What is Justin Verlander going to say about the Astros?
Well, about that whole stink about not throwing out the first pitch. He probably, he's a grudge holder. We'll see. We'll see how he feels about this team after he's done. We'll find out. I know how I feel about Coors Light. You know how I feel about Coors Light. It's the world's most refreshing beer. I love Coors Light. You should love Coors Light too. If you're going to get a beer, don't get a motor oil, one of those dark beers that you got. Oh, what are you drinking? Drink cold, clean, crisp, and refreshing, okay? Drink the world's most refreshing beer, Coors Light. Climb on, brother. Hey, what about Carlos? And speaking of Carlos, he said Derek Jeter did not deserve any of his gold gloves. Are we ruling out New York as a landing spot now?
Well, where did that come from, by the way? I mean, did Carlos grow up a huge A-Rod fan, and was there some beef there of A-Rod and Derek Jeter? Like, I'm just curious where that came from. Carlos was he would have been a young baseball player in Puerto Rico watching the games potentially, so he certainly has his own opinion. I was very surprised in that interview. It's all in Spanish, but you can get the translation. He basically said if you watch the games, he deserved no gold gloves. He might be right. It may just be Carlos being accurate. Listen, when has Carlos shied away from saying what needs to be said?
Never. But
that's one of the reasons I like him.
It's funny attacking Jeter when you're talking to New York and you're about the possibility if they may have the biggest offer, and that fan base is not going to be happy with Carlos Correa after that.
Watch how quick it goes away. Once they see him defend and see what kind of leader he is, they'll be okay. They'll be okay with it. I'm hoping he doesn't go to New York. Let the record reflect. I think most Astros fans, it was hard enough seeing Garrett Cole there. I definitely don't want to see a homegrown guy like Carlos end up there. You know, I hear the weather's nice in the spring in Detroit, in the summer in Detroit. I wouldn't really want him to be a Ranger either, but I'd rather him be a Ranger than a Yankee.
No, Detroit's my first choice. Go to Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit.
Hate your life.
Me too. Hey, you know who? Mike Elias, GM, used to be with the Astros, Baltimore Orioles. That's maybe a spot Carlos wants to take a look at too, the Orioles.
Good Lord.
Get him out of here.
Good Lord. And, oh, by the way.
I want to cheer for him.
Right.
I can't cheer for Carlos the Yankee.
I could cheer for the Orioles. I could cheer for the Orioles.
I can cheer for the Orioles. I'm fine with that.
I
cheer for George with the Blue
Jays.
Jays. Like, go George.
Hey, go Blue Jays. Yay. Who cares?